What's up, family? How are y'all doing today? Royal Risings, I hope you're feeling good in yourself. I wanted to jump on here real quick, maybe for about, it is a lot. I want to try to keep this under 30 minutes because, of course, I got to be back in front of a camera at 1 o'clock. But man, there's a lot going on. Of course, I wanted to see how many of you are actually watching the Derek Chauvin trial. I'm actually trying not to watch it, and it's just popping up everywhere. And so I did see some things, and I know that it's kind of on everybody's mind. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And in this other case, I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but I don't know if it was earlier this week or if it just happened early and it's just now getting out. But there was a situation of a 5-year-old kid who was running away from school. Got to give that context, right? Apparently running away from school. The police were called, got involved, and there was a lot of chastisement going on. And it's just very interesting, and we got a little bit of that footage that we're going to talk about. But first, let's talk about what's going on with the Derek Chauvin trial. As far as I understand, right? Yeah. As far as I understand about the Derek Chauvin trial and about the trial of revolving around George Floyd's death, period, is that all four officers are being charged with something, and so I guess right now we're just on his trial. I think last time I heard, though, they were all supposed to be tried together, so I don't know if something changed there or not. But right now it's just focusing on his trial. Now, if you don't know who Derek Chauvin is, that's the man, the officer who had his knee on George Floyd's neck. For I think the original time we were saying 8 minutes and 46 seconds. And now court has revealed that he actually had his knee on the man's neck for well over 9 minutes. He actually kept his knee on his neck 3 minutes after he was unresponsive. And so there's people are seeing a lot right now. Now, for me, I guess the major thing that's different is that we are seeing this trial live. My memory escapes me right now, but I don't remember if we saw Trayvon Martin's trial live. I don't remember if we saw Mike Brown's trial live. And I'm even saying that wrong because technically it wasn't Trayvon Martin's trial. It was George Zimmerman's trial. I don't know if we saw that live. So maybe the fact that we're seeing it live has given us a little bit of hope. But I'm wondering, so soon off of the backlash of the Breonna Taylor judgment, if you will, or lack of judgment that many of us felt, is it really even likely that we're going, even with everything that we're seeing now? I have a saying in my house, judge nothing before it's time, right? Judge nothing before it's time. But, just again, coming off the Breonna Taylor backlash, even with everything that we're seeing in the trial, how likely do you think that it is that they're actually going to come to what we may feel is a satisfactory judgment or a satisfactory conclusion? I don't know about you, but I don't like to get my hopes up over and over and over again. And I'm not saying that it may not turn out right. Again, I can't remember if any of the other ones, and if y'all let me know if you remember if any of the other trials were live. The trials revolving around Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown. Yeah, and of course that is the thing. He's still being tried amongst his peers. I did take a look at a few of the jury selections. They're not publicizing very much detailed information, but they are publicizing the race and gender statistics, which America don't think those things are important. America thinks that people are people, and people can just see when something is right or wrong, regardless of color. But I think the one thing that you can be sure of as a Black person in this country is that color blindness has never worked for our benefit. Color blindness has never worked in our favor. Someone telling me, hey, I don't even see your color when I see you. That's never been a compliment for me. Color blindness really don't work the way you think it's going to work, because people will see. Exactly. I think people will see that. People will see exactly how racist the government actually is, in a sense. And I think that's what The bigger question for me, and this is something that I want everybody to think about. While I was doing my undergrad, I wrote a research proposal about the perception of policing in minority neighborhoods because it is a different perception. I know me growing up, I learned very quickly, that the police were not for your protection or for your service. For me, now somebody else, you may have grown up with a different context. Police may have saved your life or something. I don't know. But I can speak for me and for most of those around me. I believe that for the most part, we didn't call police when we needed help. And in my paper, I asserted the fact that most times in the minority neighborhoods, we tend to use police against people. I'm gonna call the police on you. I don't really need help. I'm trying to punish you, which means that we identify the police, at least when it pertains to minority neighborhoods now. And I can just speak as a Black man in America, we see the police as the punishers. And when you think about how antithetical that is to the way this government is supposed to be designed, our judicial system is supposed to be innocent until proven guilty, but police get to see you as a perpetrator before your trial. They get to pursue you as a perpetrator before your trial. How can arrest before trial exist when it's innocent until proven guilty? Unless it's in the case where you're actually caught in the act or something. So there's a lot of issues here that we got to look at. So I want to, before I say too much, because I do want to try to keep my time limited and be honorable of you guys' time as well. So let's take a look at this. I pulled this from, what is this, CNBC? Fair use. So I'm just going to let theirs play and let's get some information. Let me pull it back up on the screen because I can see it, but y'all can't. There we go. So let's click play on that bad boy.
They watched George Floyd die. Today they took the stand.
And let me know if you guys can hear.
Chauvin. We heard from a mixed martial artist seen here in police body cam video who yelled at officers, "Get off that man." He testified he can hear and see George Floyd gasping for air while his neck was under Chauvin's knee.
At some point, did you make a 911 call?
That is correct. I did call the police on the police.
Right. And why did you do that?
Because I believe I witnessed a murder.
We heard from a teenager who recorded the now infamous cell phone video of Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes. The court decided we can't show her face because of her young age.
It's been nice. I stayed up apologizing and apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more and not physically interacting and not saving his life.
Several of the eyewitnesses to George Floyd's death who were testifying are not being shown on camera because they're so young.
I want to pause that right there and kind of address what she just said, because that was heavy, right? Did y'all, man, that was heavy, because you're hearing a soul of sorrow. And the sad thing is, I don't know how many people who feel it that heavily. I think that sister has the appropriate feeling of this idea. Listen to what she said. She said, I spent so many nights apologizing. And, and I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think that's the exact appropriate way to feel. I think she's going through the right process. I spent so many nights apologizing because I didn't intervene, because I didn't do anything. See, it's more, is it a policing problem? Absolutely. But what she's going through is she's understanding that now, no, this is more than just a policing problem. I'm going to say something that most people, absolutely, Pip, I see that. I'm going to say something that most people probably are going to cringe when I say, but I think this sister, her heartbreaking cry kind of puts it right out there. She felt what we should have all felt, or at least all of us that were there, And I say all of us because there should be some sense of accountability within us. But what she felt was complicitness. You know, and I get Derek Chauvin is responsible. He did it. I get the other cops who did it. They are absolutely responsible. They helped. You know, if me and three homies are driving in the car, I love the way King Randall said it. If I got weed, we all got weed. So if one of them is on them, they all on them, right? But there's also this bigger issue of when do we see ourselves as complicit by allowing it to happen. See, unchecked power will continue in the wrong direction. Unchecked power will continue in the wrong direction. For those of you who are actually watching the trial, there are a lot of people who are seeing things, you know, a lot of my white brothers and sisters, they're seeing behavior from police through this trial that they are, you know, not used to allowing themselves to be aware of, that they're not used to seeing. They're seeing, you know, they can understand for whatever reason why the police officers can manhandle George Floyd the way that they did, but they can't understand why they'd be pushing bystanders, right? You know, and they're watching that and they're saying, okay, why are they pushing these people? Now, these are the people that called. And so, but what they're watching is for many of the Black people, that's the experience we get every time police show up, whether you did something or not. My very first arrest encounter with police officers was one of those situations where something's going on. They show up, they just start arresting everybody. Watch this, not because you broke a law, because you didn't move when I said so. And you know, when we allow ourselves to become complicit to that, when we allow ourselves to surrender to that, then we breed the type of people within ourselves that we will watch somebody kill kill another human being right in front of us and not feel the need to intervene for fear of retaliation. Now, please explain to me, how is that any different than watching somebody be lynched and not intervene? Man, you know, yeah. Because if they're in a bad mood, they just bam, and then somebody will have the audacity to say, well, you shouldn't have been talking back to an officer. Wait a minute, is that how policing is supposed to operate in this country? You know, where every aspect of the government is supposed to be an extension of the people, right? There's not supposed to. It's crazy. So what the sister said, man, it touched my heart. It's something that I think we should all be thinking of, man. You know, if we're pulling out from the UK, wow. If you pull out a camera, you know, we're to the place now where we just pull out a camera and record it, and I'm like, yeah, that's great. Let's catch some of this stuff happening, but I don't want us to become so media centric that we don't forget that as humans, we have a responsibility and an accountability to each other. When did we become a people, all of us? When did we become a people where injustice could be done right in front of us? How do we feel okay with ourselves? Why are we waiting for laws to change what people are supposed to be able to change? No, you know, so okay, so that homegirl, sister girl touched my heart. Let's catch the rest of that.
Including a 9-year-old.
Let me put that on
as she
here.
recalled all that she saw. NBC's Jay Gray, live outside the courthouse in Minneapolis. Jay, emotional and compelling testimony all day.
Yeah, Shep, you're absolutely right. And as you described so well, it was a tense, very difficult day in that courtroom. Some of the most compelling, gripping testimony came from a Minneapolis firefighter and EMT who lives in the neighborhood and just happened upon the scene the day George Floyd died. Genevieve Hansen moved to tears as she described what she saw, telling jurors she was off duty but desperate to help, approaching police, identifying herself as a medic, and offering to check George Floyd's pulse and start chest compressions if necessary. But she says officers just told her to move to the sidewalk with the rest of the crowd.
I offered to walk them through it, or told them, if he doesn't have a pulse, you need to start compressions. And that wasn't done either. I would have been able to provide medical attention to the best of my abilities, and this human was denied that. Right.
Yeah, during cross-examination, the defense team did push back, saying that with police already there, it stood to reason that medics would be on the way, and asking Hansen if the situation was distracting or hostile because of the emotions of those who had gathered there.
Would you describe other people's demeanors as upset or angry?
I don't know if you've seen anybody be killed, but it's upsetting.
Now, you may remember in opening statements, Shep, that Chauvin's defense team said that they believe the growing and angry crowd really played into what happened that day. Today, a separate witness said there were about a dozen people there and that their outrage and pleas for Chauvin to release the hold only seemed to make him shift his weight and apply more pressure to Floyd's neck.
Jay Gray, live at the courthouse. Thank you.
Wow. All right. So this is obviously a lot to take in. First of all, there's an off-duty but EMT there who's offering her assistance, and of course, these are things I've witnessed before. When the police tend to show up, they respect nobody but each other. That's why, one of the things that many of you may not be aware of, one of the police officers, the one that's holding his legs, is actually a black brother. It may be mixed, but a black brother. He's holding his legs, and his mindset was that I was going to join the police force to be the good cop, right? I was going to change it. Isn't this what we always kind of hear? You got to change it from the inside. And I've always told people that's foolishness. If you're going to jump on the inside of a beast, you become its lunch. You don't change it. You become a part of its system, right? You become a part of its system. So there's some problems here. You got this black brother who's involved as well, which we need to pay attention to, because a lot of times it's the black brothers. Why, I'm not saying all the time, but a lot of times it is. Why am I highlighting that? That's important to know, because it seems to me that once you put on that uniform and that badge, you no longer identify with the people that you allow yourself to claim to protect and serve, right? And so now the brotherhood becomes more important than the citizens. And that's exactly what you get here. Even when it's somebody else there who also wears a badge that just so happens to be off duty, but is saying, hey, for the protection of this person. Because at this moment, even that description, well, it seems that the angry crowd may have played a role in Derek Chauvin. So because the crowd is upset, I'm going to hurt this person more, who, just mind you, why does this altercation exist? Because of an alleged $20 bill, counterfeit $20 bill. Y'all remember that, right? Come on, exactly. If you jump into the pollution, you become polluted and toxified. That's exactly what happens. There is no way around that, right? Actually, the brother, what was interesting, heartbreaking, interesting, and kind of righteous at the same time. It was his brothers and sisters that called for him to be arrested. His brother, no, we're not gonna let him get scapegoated. He stood by, he was a part of it. Because at what point are officers held accountable to intervene? Now, because I'm talking about us as a people, as a society, as humanity, whatever you want to call it. For some reason, we feel like we've lost all responsibility to intervene. We feel like we've lost all power to intervene. So instead of intervening, we just film it, instead of making sure somebody does not lose their son that day, making sure somebody does not lose their daughter, we film it. But I also have that same question for the police officers, because every time this happens, there's this narrative, well, all cops aren't bad. Well, can you point out the good ones? And when I say the good ones, I'm not talking about the ones who are feeding kids ice cream cones. I'm talking about the ones when their fellow officer has a knee on somebody's neck, that they say, hey man, stop that, or I'm gonna have to take you to jail, because at this moment you are breaking the law. See, at what point is the actual law more important than the brotherhood? But it just seems that there's, there's an undeniable classism at work in all of this as well. You got your classism, your racism, but it's no different than the plantation economy when the overseers get to take out their pain and their frustration and their anger on the plantation workers and the house workers because they can't get wherever they're trying to get in life. And now it's like that same system has been codified into the police system. Now, I'm not saying all police are like that. Could care less if all were, if all weren't. But the problem is enough are where we can't go 2 months without an incident like this. And not only can we not go 2 months, but not so far, the only case I know of, and if there's some other cases, man, flood the internet with them. Flood the internet with these other cases. But so far, the only case that I've found the only cases where I've found where other officers have stood up to the bad officers. When the good cops have stood up, those good cops have been fired, ostracized. Some have wound it up dead. I don't even know if I said that right. My Southern is coming in now. Some has wound it up dead, man, come on out. And then, of course, thinking about Christopher Dorner. Go back to Christopher Dorner. Dave Chappelle did a great job of highlighting it in 846. Yeah. What were they afraid of? You can't convince me of you cannot tell me there's not a policing problem when it comes to race, when a white kid can go into a church and shoot 9 truly innocent people, 9 people who did nothing to him. They did not bully him. This is not a Columbine situation where we could talk about he'd been bullied by these people. He had been in Bible study with them. They had prayed for him. He shoots them up. And when the police show up, the same people who are so upset that somebody is trying to buy something with a counterfeit $20 bill, the same people that are so upset that it ends up with having to put him on the ground with your knee on his neck, this other brother I can't even call him a brother, this other dude who was slain 9 people. You pick him up and take him to Burger King almost as if you were rewarding him. Now, I was in 9th grade one time and I missed the school bus. I called the cops to get a ride to school. They came all the way to my house just to tell me they don't work for me. But you took this brother to Burger King. You can't tell me that there's not a problem. Now I say that to say, and I got to hurry up and wrap this thing up. I say that to say, I'm not really interested in telling America that there's a problem. America should know now. I'm more interested in asking the people, what are you going to do about it? How long are you going to kind of subjugate yourself to these things just out of hopelessness and out of helplessness because you feel like, well, there's no alternative. There's no other way. This is just how it is. This is the white man's world. Because and all of that, I just have to say, all of those is the language of ignorance. All of those are language. Anytime somebody tells you there isn't a way, this is a person who hasn't looked long enough. Anytime somebody tells you there's no way to do something, this is a person who's never studied it. This is a person who gave up. This is a person who quit. And you don't listen to quitters. Where there is a will, there is always a way. And what needs to happen for your life should not be dependent on whether or not somebody else changes their mind about how they're treating you. You got to change your mind about how they're treating you. And when they come in with, hey, player, not this time. No, we're not doing that. And that's that, I'm not nowhere near suggesting that that's an overnight, attitude change. That's not an attitude, that's a mindset. You got to shift your whole mindset. You got to shift your whole way of being and reason of being. It's like I'm no longer living just day to day just to achieve my individual dreams. I've got to live as a part of some type of unit that is working towards solving my problems. Took a killer to Burger King and put a guy who used a fake note in a coffin. That's inexcusable. You know, it's inexcusable. The real mockery of the whole thing, and I thought about this when the Mike Brown thing happened. The real mockery of the whole thing is that George Floyd never got a trial. This is the thing I've been trying to get my people to see. I don't care if it was a fake $100 bill. It's not a capital crime. We have to stop justifying and legitimizing force in situations that do not require it. If you watch the whole trial, one of the guys that worked at the store offered to cover the 20. You know, if you just watch from the media clips, you think you missed something. And I got to move on to this last part before my time is up. Okay, yeah, okay, I got 15 minutes. I'm gonna do it. Okay, godly man, I gotta hit so much of this. But this encounter doesn't just happen. It's not like Floyd walks in the store and he tries to spend it, and then he's going outside, gets in his car, and the police are pulling up, and then the altercation ensues, right? What happens is Floyd and this dude go into the store. They come out. What the other dude go in. The man tells him, "Hey, this is counterfeit." The dude says, "Oh, I didn't know." You know, and rips it up. He says, "Thank you for letting me know." And then him and Floyd are in the car. Now, at their moment, they're actually in the car for a long time. Long enough for the workers in the store to come in and out of the store several times, walking across the street, interacting in a conversation, right? And by this time, the other worker has said, "Look, man, I'll just pay the $20. I'll cover the $20, you know, and handle that." But at this moment, they wanted to call the police, you know. So they called the police. Now, this is after about 10 minutes has passed. Now, if these people, and I know this is speculation, but I'm thinking if I just knowingly passed an illegal tender, if I just knowingly tried to use a false instrument, if I just knowingly tried to do this, and I'm already outside in my car, I'm not waiting for the store owner to come talk to me twice, and I'm not waiting for the police to show up. I'm skirting right there. I'm out of there. Come on now, if you know me long enough, you know I will. No, I'm gone. No, I'm out of here. No, I'm not about to sit around for this. So you see that there's not a lot of intent for these people to commit a crime. And again, even if there was, it's just a $20 bill. We should not be okay with the use of force for a $20 bill. You know what I'm saying? No, we shouldn't be okay with handcuffing somebody for $20. I'm gonna challenge your thinking. Let's challenge your thinking. You think that's okay? You think it was okay for someone to pull out their gun against a young man, a kid, a barely out of high school, a young man, because he stole some Rellos? You think it's justifiable to shoot somebody because of Rellos? Now, you think that's justifiable. You say that's okay, and then you can't understand black on black crime. It's a value issue. You keep telling black people they're not more valuable than $20. You keep telling black people they're not more valuable than some cigarillos. That no, it's okay to kill you if you steal anything because you're acting out of your place. They're acting like the man robbed the bank. Actually, they're acting like he killed somebody. Because in this country, supposed to be, but it's never been the case for black folk. In this country, it's always been okay to kill black folk for less than capital offenses. Always. And nothing has changed now. And I'm saying, does America need to change its mind about that? Absolutely. But most importantly, who needs to change their minds about that? We do. We need to be able to say, no, that's not okay. You need to be able to stand behind your brothers, and we need to be able to start creating systems and institutions of our own, so we're not even dealing with this, dallywag type of stuff. Let's just, no. Let's learn from other cultures. Let's learn from our own history and say, you know what, we're gonna be all right if we can just learn how to work together. All right, so that's George Floyd. Let me hit this other thing, and then I gotta go because at 1 o'clock I gotta be right back for Bridge City. So let me set this up. I gotta stop this screen, and then I gotta share this other screen because I definitely need y'all to see this. It's only about 2 minutes, and then I'm gonna talk about it a little bit. Beautiful. And then y'all let me know if you can hear.
launch. It appears to show the entire encounter between a 5-year-old kindergartner student and 2 police officers who police say responded to the school after they got a call that the child walked away from the school and didn't want to return to the building last January. The boy's mother has since sued the Montgomery County Department of Police, the county, and the Montgomery County Board of Education. That led to a community push to get this video released. Now that it's out, county leaders say they are appalled, horrified, and shaken as body camera footage shows officers yelling at the young boy, telling him he needs to be beaten, putting him in a cop car, screaming what appears to be inches from the boy's face, and even putting him in handcuffs.
These right here, you know what these are? These are handcuffs. You know what they're for?
Uncle Virgo back?
Huh? You know what these are for? These are for people that don't want to listen and don't know how to act.
You want to go with Uncle Virgo
That's
back?
what that is.
Where Uncle Virgo at?
They put you in like that, and then now you can't move, you can't free, you can't go anywhere. You do what we tell you to do. Is that how you want to live your life?
This is just a snippet of the 51-minute video released by Montgomery County Police today. Montgomery County Public Schools released a statement saying their heart aches for the student and there is no excuse for adults to speak to or threaten a child in that way. County Executive Mark Eldridge has since announced police duties are supposed to end as soon as school personnel are present, and says he's asked them to revisit training about how officers interact with children. Montgomery County Department of Police says there was an investigation into the officers' conduct, and both officers were made employed by the Montgomery County Department of Police. Coming up at 6, we'll have more reaction from local leaders, several of whom are calling for those officers in the video to be fired. Live in Silver Spring, Colby Satterfield, WUSA 9.
Yeah, parents across the area right now saying, what would they do if this?
All right. That was, and I do encourage you to go, absolutely. I do encourage you to go watch that video in its entirety. Man, because I don't want you to just take my word for it. But I think what's really sad to me is that the behavior that I see in that video is common. This is and this kind of, again, what we kind of pointed out with the Derek Chauvin case, whether it's a black officer or a white officer, it's common. It's something about having on that uniform that I don't know what it is. All of a sudden you feel qualified to make all of these type of decisions that you're really not qualified to make, so this was very interesting to me. Okay, now the kid apparently they say he walked away from school. So I don't understand that. All right. Now I get, I'm new in the game. We've just been running our school open, as far as public for a year, not even a full year. But and we probably don't have nowhere near many as kids as they had. But as far as the child walking away, now running away, maybe, because little kids, they can get some speed on them. But they continue to say he walked away, right? He walked away, and in the video you see the other people walking behind him and the police walking toward him. Okay, so this is like a walking contest, right? And I'm not trying to excuse little man behavior at all. I don't know what happened prior to that, so I'm not trying to excuse little man behavior. But I know if my child was at a school and he walking away and away from the school, off the premises, and you just walking behind him, I might have some issues there. I'm like, well, why aren't you running after my kid, man? Get my kid. I get it. Teachers got a lot to deal with, but so I don't know I don't know how the kid got out of the school, but the kid is walking away from the school, and he's and the police first comes up to him and immediately starts yelling at him very aggressively. And what's funny is in most of our military training now, we're getting out of aggressive techniques in investigation, interrogation, and stuff. So I don't see why the police officers still think this is effective in any type of way. If we're going to behave this way, let's just go ahead and take protect and serve off. I mean, we already know it's a farce. We already know that's not what you do. We already know that what you do is arrest and petition. That's not me being funny. That's truth. That what you do is you arrest and petition. So let's just go and take protect and serve off so people know how to respond appropriately. But they show up with this kid, and you see some of it in the video. Yeah. You see some kids and you see the cop shows up, they're very aggressive towards them. And then, they get into the school and they're yelling at them and tell them you're going to jail. It's almost like a scared straight too early, scared straight too early. But man, if you hear some of the things that the officer says, you hear this social conditioning that I'm sure many of you have heard before. You don't have any rights. You can't just decide to do what you want to do. And I'm thinking now, honestly, prior to being educated on some things myself, as a brother from the South, I would have absolutely thought that was okay. That's right. You get them. You get them. But anybody who kind of knows me as a parent, like even when I talk to my children, I don't talk down to them. I get down right in their face. Even if I'm going to say something that's mean, like if you don't straighten up, I'm going to beat you, the candy come out. I'm going to come right down to your face and look at you in your eyes, and actually one thing I learned years ago was just, to take the boom out my voice when dealing with kids, right? And I don't expect officers to actually have to know it. I don't expect you to go get an educational degree. I don't expect you to know anything about diverse learners. I don't expect you to know anything like that. So what we need people who know when their job stops. Like, no, I can make sure he don't get from you, but I'm not the one that should be doing any lecturing. This is a minor, so I have no need to have any handcuffs or anything out. But what they're treating this young brother like is a future thug, or really more appropriately, they're treating somebody like they're trying to condition to stay subservient. Now, I don't think the officer knows he's doing that. I don't think he knows that. But if you listen to the language, what he's saying is, if you listen to the language, no, you don't have any rights. Whoa. You can't just do whatever you want to do. Now, see, I can understand if a parent is saying that to a child in a sense. But just a random police officer, because you got a badge on that makes you super dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you don't have that badge on, do you feel comfortable just going over to other people's children and just saying something, And so, but anyway, they get the child in the room and they're, beating them up. I don't want to say beating them up, but they're just trying to, it's very traumatic. It's like traumatizing the child to basically know your place, know your role. And again, I think the thing that's most jarring about it is that for those of us that'll be honest, and not everybody, but for those of us who had it, that's been our experience. Not just with cops, but with authority figures in this country, period. That's been our experience with educators, especially for those of us in the South. That's been our experience with bosses. And you should hear the way some of these, managers at fast food places talk to their employees because, you think a sickness is just going to stay in one area. So you think that America's sickness or the world's sickness is racism. And I'm like, oh no, it's bigger than that. Something that's sick and stays sick gets sicker. And so there's a lot of sickness in this society that we're not even calling out anymore. But again, what you really see here is our perception of police. Police are designed to scare us straight. I wrote in my undergraduate research proposal that we don't think of police as helpers. We think of police as who we call to use against somebody else. When we're calling the police, I'm using them against you. What this school is doing, what this mother is doing at this moment, even though she comes back and regrets it, or so she says. But, because I don't want to assume anybody's anything. But what they're doing at this moment is conditioning that child's mind. They're using the police against him. They're actually teaching him how to be afraid of the police. They're actually teaching him that the police are not your equal. They do not exist for you. They are not a part of the same society you are. They are a part of a sovereign society, and they have control over you. And you do what they say. And and it's like, whoa, man, this is going too far. And see, a lot of times we look at the way America treats white criminals and the way that they treat black criminals, and we say they treat white criminals too good. And see, that's actually the sickness that we have. See, they treat white criminals like humans. See, we're expecting them to treat the white criminals the way that they treat us because we're okay with the treatment. That's why we treat each other that way. That's why we use police against each other. That's why no matter how many times we see police show up to an incident and make it worse, we still won't hesitate to call them to make it worse because we like that feeling of being able to use a power against somebody else. That's going to be the end of my conversation. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in with me today. I got to jump off of this. For those of you who are on YouTube and Facebook, we'll be right back. We'll be on the Bridge City channel on YouTube. Love you guys. Like and subscribe, support this channel. Visit our sites, Window Shop, Multiverse Radio, all that jazz. Royal Risings, holla.